All good evening, whenever you're watching this. Crazy Delaney here, coming to you once again. And I don't mean to, flood you all with videos, but, got some more thoughts for you. Apparently, I've been fair gamed. Well, not really. Not in the, creepy, private investigators diving into my garbage, trying to frame me for crimes sort of thing. But I've gotten the attention of a blog on Blogspot, the home of all master bloggers, called Operation Fair Game, Trolling Anonymous for the Lulz. They've put up a post on me on Wednesday and posted a link to my last video. And I really do have to thank them for the views and for the attention. I do like it when I rub the right people the wrong way. And I have to say I have a hard time believing that it's OSA behind that particular site because it really is too ludicrous. But then again, the tactics used by OSA are often pretty ludicrous, and frankly, they'd be comical if they weren't engaging in psychological terrorism against the people who speak out against the church every day. If being featured on some ridiculous website put together by some mean-spirited, misguided soul is the worst I endure, then so be it. Bring it on, guys. However, I really do have to say that, what I'm trying to do is provoke thought. And I happen to be doing it from my corner of the, the beautiful Pacific Northwest, looking pretty nice out there, on the internet to a potentially very large audience. I've not been sent menacing text messages. I've not gotten threatening phone calls. I don't have white vans following me to work and following me home, as some have. Frankly, I think the church has bigger fish to fry than me. I do know that indeed, there are critics out there that have been followed by private investigators and have been sent vaguely threatening text messages and have gotten phone calls in the middle of the night. And I have to say that I salute you for continuing to fight and continuing to raise your voice despite the psychological terror that has been attempted against you. And, that's especially true for those who have been in the church and have seen it from the inside and know all the church's dirty little secrets. The church hates those people, and the church is doing all it can to ruin their lives, bankrupt them, ruin their reputation. And frankly, I can't blame them for trying to do that. But I really think there are too many people turning state's witness here, and they're going to have a hard time doing it to everybody. And in this open information age, we'll all shine a light on it, and they're not getting away with it. At least not while I'm drawing a breath, and I think that's true for everybody else watching here, who's like-minded, and who's marching in the streets. I don't think we're going to let that happen. And I have to say that I think whoever is behind the particular site that featured me and others, if they aren't with the cult, they are unwittingly doing the work of the cult, and I think it would do them some good to read about Fair Game and Operation Freakout, and they can really see how many LOLs there are with Fair Game. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's not a laughing matter at all. And I think they would do some good to Google Operation Freakout and see how funny Fair Game is. I challenge them to do that. There's something else I've been thinking about today, and this comes from reading what was on that blog about me. And it specifically said that I was a fascinating study in the subject of bias. The ugly B word. This also came up in an earlier video where I talked about my dialogue with a church propagandist on another Blogspot blog. He called me out for my lack of objectivity. He basically said, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You've revealed yourself not to be objective. And let me say this. I'm not objective. And that comes by virtue of being a human being with passions and a beating heart. I'm not objective. And anybody who is going to say to you that they're objective, well, you'd better hide your checkbook because they're lying to you. There is no problem with bias if you admit it. If you're biased and you pretend to be objective, well, you have an integrity problem. I try to speak plainly and not engage in verbal voodoo like politicians do, or like dubious religious organizations that have more front groups than Elizabeth Taylor had ex-husbands. Take a look at all the ways the church misrepresents itself. The Citizens Commission on Human Rights, for example. Sounds like a lovely organization, doesn't it? Who doesn't like human rights? I like human rights, so I'm sure you like human rights. We have human rights for 10 more minutes in this country, so I think we all love human rights. But the organization doesn't have much to do with human rights. It's dedicated to the utter destruction of psychiatry. But you wouldn't know that without digging more deeply into the organization. The same goes for Religious Freedom Watch, or Applied Scholastics, or Narconon. The church loves to misrepresent themselves. You know, I can recall an incident when I was in college where I was proofreading a classmate's paper, and she had actually cited information from the Citizens Commission on Human Rights without having any idea at all of the true nature of that organization. You know, the church loves to pretend to be what it's not. They like to pretend to be all things to all people. You can be a Muslim and a Scientologist. You can be a Christian and a Scientologist. Hell, you can be a Jedi and a Scientologist. The church is not speaking plainly, and it practices verbal voodoo. I'm not. I'm biased against authoritarian organizations that masquerade as religions for tax purposes. And I believe I have arrived at my conclusions after looking at indisputable facts, after looking at the public record. The main facts being the trail of broken lives that the church has left in its wake, and that's why I open my mouth. That's my bias. That's who I am. If the church wants to open up to the world and tell us about body thetans, tell us about L. Ron Hubbard's military record, tell us about whether he really was a nuclear physicist, about his intentions in starting the organization, then I welcome that. Until that day comes, I'm a sharp, annoying little rock in their shoes. Anonymous is a huge thorn in their side, and everyone who has seen the horrors from the inside is a huge, overfed elephant on their backs. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. Peace. Victory. Drive safe.